Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market and figure out what is happening and what we can expect, of course, as per usual, moving forward. So with all that being said and done, if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section on YouTube is live. The link is down below for just $2.99 a month. You get access to all my intraday thoughts, posts, updates, options flow, whale flow, etc. Every single day, the market is open for just $2.99 a month. So if you're interested, definitely take a look at that. I actually was talking to members this morning, talking about how I personally believe that everyone is a little bit too optimistic about Tesla. When we were rallying up to about 186, 187, how I personally think that, personally, I think people are overestimating how easy it will be to move past the mid 190s to about the very, very, very low 200s, like 200, 205, right? And then we ended up selling off from there, and then we pretty much closed at just shy of 185. And you remember I last week said how 185 is that pretty crucial level that we want to start closing daily candles on. And honestly, even closing out what we did today at 184.76, which is up about 2% on the day, which compared to the market is roughly in line with the market, honestly, ish. Arguably slight underperformance, but the minuscule underperformance, pretty much in line with the market. Now, this is not too bad, right? This is not that bad of a close, right? We are closing higher than all of these candles, right? All these three candles pretty much got roughly to this range that we currently closed at, but none of them were able to really hold it convincingly, right? They all kind of came back right down to pretty much 180 or very close to 180 itself. So this is the first candle in the past few times that we have officially closed higher than the other candles were able to, or the other days of trading were able to close, which is a good sign. Now, we'll see how this actually translates. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember hearing a lot of people talk about how Elon today should be doing a Bloomberg interview at 5 p.m. Eastern. If that's the case, I expect, I expect some potential mini catalyst that maybe can move Tesla stock, coming tomorrow or maybe the rest of the week even. But I'm also seeing members tell me that they can't find anything, and I'm looking and I can't really find anything now either. So I'm not really too sure if it's actually happening or not. But if it is, and I hope it is, that could be potentially something to watch out for Tesla stock moving forward. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at the daily chart once again. Now, why did I tell my members this morning that, I personally wouldn't be too excited just yet, right? We are, closing decently here, right? And in my opinion, Tesla has potential for sure. But, it's something that you should definitely take with a grain of salt. Why? Well, simply because, if we take over the band's regression, you can see we're still in overbought territory on the daily chart, on the 4-hour chart. In the 1-hour chart, you can see actually this was the first hour of the day right here. Massive push in the morning. And then we got into very overbought territories and we just got, plummeted right back down, pretty aggressively, pretty quickly within the first hour. So, this is just the power of being overbought, right? Kind of like what happened over here, right? We had that massive gap up. We were substantially overbought. And what happened? Well, we pushed up a little bit higher, but ultimately we ended up finally cooling off and we reverted back to the mean. In fact, on the 1 hour, we actually got oversold for a little bit. And then we, once again, reverted back to the mean. And now we're just kind of dancing around that middle line, if that makes sense. So, that's important to understand, right? These things are important, but that's the 1 hour, right? That's the 1 hour. Same idea applies to the daily, just move slower, right? It's like a turtle as opposed to the 1 hour. It's like the hen, if you will, right? The rabbits or whatever. The hen, is it the hen? The rabbit, whatever. You know the story, the turtle and the rabbit. No, that's not the hen. What am I saying? Anyway, whatever. You get the point, right? It's the same idea. It's just the 1 hour, obviously, more volatile technically when it comes to being oversold, overbought. The daily, same idea, just slower pace, right? But the point I'm trying to make is the fact that the daily is still in overbought territory. So even if we get a push, even if Tesla, for instance, on this 15-minute right here, does play out this potential little wedge pattern that it's in and does break out to the upside, right? For instance, which in my opinion, if it gets anywhere higher than about 185.5, really, to make it simple, there is a chance that at the very least we'll come back up to the high 180s, if not potentially even the low 190s. But again, I personally just don't see Tesla running up higher than high 190s to the very low 200s, like for instance 205. Like I personally, unless some major catalyst comes out, I personally do not see that happening yet, honestly, even anytime soon. And the reason is because, again, we're just still overbought. I personally think it needs to cool off. I still think that there will be a further cool off, more like not necessarily like a cool off to the downside particularly, but at the very least a sideways cool off. And we just kind of trade within this 190-ish range to as low as like the 175-ish range. And I still personally believe that the majority of May will just be this kind of, ping pong action like this, right? That's my current belief, right? I do think June, I'm actually bullish going into June. And don't forget, June is, of course, one of Tesla's best months moving forward, right? If you go over here, go over to the seasonality for Tesla for the last 10 years, you can see May, not one of the worst months, if you can argue that, right? Obviously, the worst month is September, then October, then March, and then May is the fourth worst month for Tesla, while June is the best month for Tesla, right? So keep that in mind. April is the second or third best month for Tesla, and obviously April, with earnings ended up being a phenomenal month, actually. So keep that in mind, right? May is a very, kind of so-so month for Tesla, while June is a very bullish, literally the best month for Tesla, period. So that's why I'm bullish going to Tesla into June. And I'm bullish, into that because I do think that will be the month that we can break above 250 and potentially even go up to about the 220, 230s, right? But I do believe personally, as of right now, at least as we're remaining overbought in this area on the daily chart, and we're still getting rejected by the weekly chart, same idea on the weekly bands you can see here, right? We're still getting rejected by this volume profile on the weekly time frame here. You can see, we have the 20 moving average right here, this white line right here, getting rejected as well, pretty much currently sitting at just shy of 190. Those things are still rejecting us. Now, with all of this being said, it's still early in the week. Obviously, we only had the first day of the week, but there is something brewing for Tesla. And this is what I personally think can be the catalyst, maybe sooner than I expect personally, but we'll see how the week closes. But the MACD is flirting with a bullish crossover. Now, there's two reasons why I want to, dampen excitement here and at least make the excitement realistic. Two reasons. Number one, well, there's still a lot of time in the week. This can get better or worse, right? Who knows, right? So we still need to see how the week closes. We need to see how the week closes and how this MACD potential crossover, that's why I said use the word flirting, actually looks like once the weekly candle does close. Because, well, we still have a lot of time in the week. A lot of things can change for better or for worse. The second thing I want to point out that, it's great. Don't get me wrong. A weekly bullish crossover is phenomenal. But with that being said and done, we also had a weekly bullish crossover right up here. You can see if I zoom in, actually, I'll just make this even bigger, right? You can see right here, we had a weekly bullish crossover. And what happened? Well, not a whole lot of anything. We ended up just actually crashing pretty aggressively not too long after. So, that's why the MACD, as good as it is, and it's a pretty damn good indicator, it's not the only thing that matters, right? So again, we have the weekly crossover here, just like we did here, but this didn't amount into almost anything. There's a chance that this doesn't either. Just, FYI, right? I think it's still better than not having it as a bull, of course. Don't get me wrong. I want to make that very clear. Obviously, it's a good sign. But it's not the only sign. That's what you want to be careful about. We still have this volume profile to watch out for. We still have the overbought daily chart to watch out for. So, there are still some signs of concern. For instance, on top of that, we also have the 5 and the 13, which is bullish. It is crossed over. The green is above the red. That's bullish. That means the trend has officially flipped to the upside, which is good. It's now bullish. Fantastic. But, this thing is a little bit overextended. They're very far apart. So again, that's why the cool off also wouldn't be too surprising for me. If we really come back down, really fill this fair value gap, maybe even get close to filling this gap over here at, about 170, retest this point of control on the volume profile, which is sitting around the mid to low 170s, right? And that would give us the cool off. These two indicators, the 13 and the 5 EMA, will kind of reset. It'll come back down to almost retest and bounce off of it, hopefully, and we continue the bullish trend. This, of course, indicator, right, it'll no longer be overbought, and it'll kind of meet us. Remember how I said if you look back at the video, like maybe from like last week, I talked about how personally, I expect us to meet the white line here, which is essentially the 20-day moving average, roughly. I expect us to meet it, but I expect it to meet us while it moves up to us, while it plays catch up to us as we essentially go sideways. I remember saying that. Hopefully you guys remember me saying that as well. And that's kind of what's happening right now. And I still expect that to happen where, as we kind of go sideways, maybe get a small push up, but ultimately still make our way down and ultimately go sideways. I think this will meet us somewhere around the mid-ish 170s. And I think we'll come back there one more time, potentially. I think that's still in the cards. And I think from there, that cool off will officially have occurred. It'll officially have happened. It would have officially now have cooled off. The stock has fully reset. It is no longer overbought, especially on the daily time frame. And then we can reignite that, next bullish momentum into June, a bullish month, beautiful month for Tesla. Pretty much the perfect month for that to happen, as it also coincides with that shareholder votes decision, I guess. So that's the main thing I'm looking at right now, right? If we look at options flow, it was kind of all over the place. Tesla is the most bullish right today, 30 million, but that's not very high, of course. 30 million is not too much for Tesla, right? It's the highest, but it's nothing to write home about, at least not in my opinion, right? And of course, you had a lot of random kind of options flow come in, though I do believe some of them have been exited. For instance, 2.3 million, 2 million right here that came in for Tesla, right? Pretty much end of this month, 190 calls, right? Those came in. We had a 3 million put that came in for 2025 in December, right? So that 165 strike that came in as well. There was another 1 million call that came in right here, 1.2 million, right? For pretty much 2 weeks out. 180 strike, whether or not they're still holding, of course, is the question. Who knows? But the whales are stepping in bullishly here, it seems, and like short-term bullish as well. Usually, I see the whales stepping in long-term bullish, like leaps, but we're seeing some whales step in short-term bullish. To it, I imagine the ones that entered back here have exited by now because they have done. They would arguably have lost money because they entered when it was 186. We're at 184 now. So far they're down, obviously, especially on such a big play. And it's not that long dated, right? And it is, some of them are pretty much at the money. So we'll see how that plays out. But ultimately, like, again, I wouldn't get my hopes up just yet. I think the more realistic scenario is like we go sideways. That is what I'm currently expecting. If things change, I will update you guys. But if this 15-minute little wedge plays out, I do expect us to move up a little bit higher. I do, expect us to move up to, at the very least, this double top potential here at 187. If not, maybe peak our head into the 190s. But again, I don't see it much higher than that. I really, really don't just yet. So with that being said and done, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. Let me know what you think down below. And as usual, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.